Hi, so my name's Campbell. I'm the token white guy on the other team. Yeah, so usually it's the other way around, but yeah, so it's quite cool.
That's funny.
So I'm going to talk about the flea in the box. So my cartoon is kind of made up. I kind of formed it here, so it's not like the Hulk where there's a good big story behind it. But just before I start talking, I'm not going to do it too because we're short on time. I didn't want to have one planned anyway, so that's alright. So I just want you to think about barriers, or barriers that you have kind of what you're involved in life. So it can be anything. Also maybe think of things that you've come across in your youth councils or your involvement in local government. Some of those barriers that are put in front of you. And yeah, just have a think about it, see if you can think of something, and just mellow over it as I go through. So, right, so you've got a flea. Does everyone know what a flea is? Yeah, like a jumping flea? Yeah. Right, so I've told the story once before and I got it right. I said a flea can jump from a flea, but I got corrected by the guys the other night. So. But anyway, you've got a flea, right? So a jumping flea can jump 10 inches into the air. The flea is tiny, absolutely tiny. But it can jump up to 200 times its own kind of height and weight. So if we compare that to a human, it's like us being able to jump, what, like 200 feet in the air, something ridiculous? Now this little flea, it's not easy for it to do that, but it can if it wants to. And it's in an open environment, so there's no barriers around it. However, if you get that flea and you put it in a tiny little box, say like a match box or something, and you leave it in there long enough, you set these barriers and you create that environment around that flea, then it's going to, obviously, while it's in there, only jump as high as that box can go. And if you leave it in there long enough and you let that flea out, it's only going to ever jump as high as it could in that box. Because the environment around it has said, this is all you can do, and has kind of set those barriers. You know, when you think about it, like life is kind of like that. You know, people are continuously setting barriers around us, telling us what we can and what we can't do. You know, when we're young, I know when I was young I was thinking, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a policeman, I want to be a black cat or a rugby player. You know, we're encouraged to think big. Though as we get older and start to hit our teens, we kind of get told what we can and what we can't do. My rugby coach said I could never play in the forwards because I was too small. He's probably right, but so there's people around us telling us all these things and they're putting these barriers around us. And you know, I think it's important that we don't lose sight and that we always realise that we can break these barriers. So for example, relating it back to kind of local government and relating it back to us, is that when I first decided I wanted to stand on the Waitemata Community Board, I had a guy, or a couple of people, but I had one guy who kind of been involved in government for about 35 years or so, had a lot of experience, had a lot of knowledge, and he came up to me and he said, Campbell, you want to go on the community board, you're 19 years old. No one's going to vote for you, you're too young. You know, the voting age is higher. Who's going to vote for someone young? You know, there hasn't really been a young person on the community board. I kind of sat there respectfully and said, oh, I understand, okay. As soon as I left the room, I said, I'm definitely standing, I'm putting my name on that ballot. There's no way that I'm letting this person create this barrier around me or make me think that I can't do something. So I got out there and I put letters, leaflets in everyone's letterbox, you know. Done all that, said vote for me, put my name on billboards, caught a person trying to put my billboard on my face, caught them and I just sort of stood next to them and said, oh, that's it, I think you should put a moustache on him, it's pretty, oh yeah, and then they looked, it was night time and then they realised, oh shit, it's the guy that I voted for. So anyway, so I went through that whole process and I ended up getting elected. To be honest, we had 6 seats and there were 7 people, so it was always quite it wasn't too difficult to get there. But so I set myself the goal that I would get in the top 3 votes-wise. I ended up getting 2nd in total, 30 votes behind our incumbent chairman. So, you know, when I seen this guy, I won't say his name, in the street, I just gave him a little right smile because I said I couldn't get there because no one would vote for a young person. So again, it's about breaking those barriers, and it's our future, us collectively in our own individual communities. I know when we first formed, I always got the feeling that we were kind of a tokenistic voice. I think that's an issue that often young people come across, is that we do have people who are in power and they'll say, oh yes, we've got these young people here, it's fantastic, and blah blah, but it's often tokenistic. So we've kind of had to overcome that, and again, we've had to prove, and we've had to do actions to show that we're not a tokenistic voice. And we're actually here to make some changes, and we're not going to be set by the environment that you think that we should be. So, the moral of the story, that's essentially it, is break those barriers, try and jump 200 feet in there, you know, never let other people set your environment. It's so important. You know, I hate it when people just say that you can and what you can and what you can't do. You are your own person. If you want to break a barrier, you can break that barrier, run straight through it. Cool. And I'll go to Matt.
Is it a wrap up? Wrap up, yeah.